Ooh, this is gonna be good. What's up, friends? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. I'm doing great because today's video is gonna be solely dedicated to one of my favorite eyeshadow brands, and that is Viseart Paris. They currently, on the day that I am filming this, just launched their amazing Black Friday sale. So I am here to give you guys my recommendations of what to buy, and then what are kind of like the couple things that I probably wouldn't buy because it's holiday time and we need to prioritize. So if you guys are interested in hearing my top 5 picks for the Viseart sale, then keep watching. And if this is your first time here, then welcome. My name is Sophia, and this is my channel where I focus on luxury beauty. Every single week, I upload new content on the new luxury beauty releases. I do tons of very in-depth, thoughtful, and honest reviews, and then I also do favorites videos like these. So if that sounds of interest to you, then you're in the right place, my friend. Hit that subscribe button to join our fam, and you can also click the notification button to hear about every time I upload a new video. If you watch this video and you like this video, if you found it helpful, then please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And as I usually do, I will link everything that I mentioned in this video in that description box down below to help you guys shop. Okay, party people, let's dive into this video. Before I get into my top 5 picks, I do want to talk about Viseart just a little bit. Viseart started first and foremost as a makeup artist brand, and you'll probably notice that in some of the products. A lot of the products that they used to launch looked more like this. So this is their Slim Pro line. These palettes retail for $80, and you can see this is very much something that you would see in a makeup artist kit. And then they've kind of gradually, I've noticed, launched more and more product lines that are geared towards the average consumer, somebody that loves a really good formula, someone who loves luxury makeup. But we are not makeup artists, at least most of us are not. I certainly am not. So now what we're kind of seeing from them is something like this. This is part of the Etoile line. This is the Violette palette, and you'll notice you still get sort of slim, very lightweight packaging, something that it actually is great for travel. If it's in my travel makeup kit, I can fit several of these if I want a bunch of different color stories, but it's prettier, okay? It's cuter. We've got the cute packaging, and I do want to just kind of call this out because I think that one of the best parts about Viseart is their formula, but this isn't going to be the kind of brand that has super duper fancy packaging. The packaging is a little bit more minimalistic, but that being said, I think that the price is pretty fair for what you're getting because nowadays we're seeing luxury palettes go for $60, $70, $80, sometimes over $100, and these from Viseart before the sale are $44. And by the way, if you're watching this video after the sale ends or during a time when they don't have a sale, don't worry, I still recommend buying all of these full price. I still think that they're pretty well priced within the luxury market, so I just want to kind of put that out there. You guys heard me say that I really like the formula, and I do. Viseart very much is known for their mattes, their matte formula, which oddly enough doesn't swatch very well. So when you guys see the swatches, just know they don't swatch very well, but they do apply to the eye very, very well. They're super blendable. They're really easy to build up. I feel comfortable recommending this formula to people of all ages, to people of all skin tones. I feel like there's a palette for everyone, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this video because all of the palettes that I have from them are good. I think all of them are really good quality. It just depends on what kind of color story speaks to you. So I'm gonna help you with that throughout this video. If you're wondering how this formula compares to other luxury formulas that are out there, I would say that in general, the mattes are pretty pigmented and so are the shimmers. I'll show you guys here a couple of swatches of the shimmers from this palette. They're pretty high shine. They are pretty foiled. But that being said, I don't find this formula to be particularly creamy. I find it to be more powdery, but not so powdery that it's gonna make a mess and cause a ton of kick up in the pan. And the reason I like to talk about this is because I just feel like these glide across the eyes so seamlessly. It's one of the reasons why these are some of my go-to eyeshadow palettes in my entire collection. It's so easy to just brush on. It's very quick. So if you're somebody that has mature skin, but you still like a little bit of shine, I still think that these are gonna be good because they're so soft on your eyes and they just glide across and they're not glittery. You don't get a lot of fallout from using these shadows. The other thing that I like about these palettes just in general before I get into my top 5 picks is that Viseart does a really good job creating neutral palettes with pops of color, or palettes that have some color but they're not crazy. They're still usable. Like even in this palette, the Violette palette, you have these 2 shades right in the center where you could do a very basic look, but if you want to take it up a notch, you can take this gorgeous icy blue. It's kind of like a slight duochrome. Some of the palettes have have interesting shades like that in them. So not only are they basic, but they give you a little something something as well, which makes them really good if you're gonna give them as a gift, if you're gonna have like your go-to palette, because I know for a lot of you, you are being really picky about where you spend your money and you don't wanna spend your money on something that you're not really gonna use. And with that, let's get into my top 5 recs. The first category, because I did put these into categories, is best neutral palette, and the one that I'm going to give it to is this one. This is the Solstice palette. This is a part of their Petit Pro line. These retail for $30 if you're going to be buying them full price, and you get 8 little shadows. So you do get quite the little variety. And this palette, it's not too cool tone, it's not too warm tone. This is a good standard neutral palette. If you've never tried Viseart before and you're like, oh, I just want to dip my toes, but like I'm a neutral lover, I'm pretty basic, I just want something pretty and cute, then this is going to be really good. The shimmers in this, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful and foily and high shine. Look at that gorgeous gold. I like to take this, use it as a one and done, maybe pop one of the little light matte shadows in the crease, and it's just a really brightening, beautiful, youthful look. The other thing that I like about this palette is that even though this is totally your basic palette, you still get one really beautiful duochrome kind of shade, and it's this one right in the corner. I will swatch it. I'll kind of show you on my finger right there. It's not crazy. It's still wearable. See, that was the gold shade, and then this is the duochrome shade. I feel like because I have a light skin tone, it's not popping that much on my hand, but trust me, on the eye, whenever I wear that shade, people are asking me, what's on your eyes? It looks so beautiful. It pairs perfectly with any of the other shadows that are in this palette. It's a great topper shade. It's a great one and done shade. So yeah, this is my top pick if you're looking for just a really basic, affordable, neutral palette. And in the sale, this is gonna be an even better deal. So don't hate me, but I am cheating here a little bit, because while when I think of neutral palette, I think of browns, I do think some people think more so pinks and mauves, because the pink and mauvey color story has been extremely popular the past couple of years. So I do have a runner-up. I have an honorable mention here. I had to talk about this palette in this video, and it's this one. This is the Paris Edit. This, I'll show you guys just kind of like a size comparison. This is the Petit Pro. This is the Edit palette. This is a couple more expensive because you are getting more shades. This retails for $40, but this is great because you get so many shades, but it's still in a small palette. And this color story, oh my gosh, it's so romantic. If you love the pinks and the mauves, just something super feminine, super romantic, this is gonna be the neutral palette for you. In fact, I took this with me on vacation this summer because I did have the opportunity to go to Paris, and this is the palette that I wore the entire time there. So really kind of like put me in that Parisian mood. Oh my gosh, you have this stunning, like super feminine, foily, gorgeous pink. You also have sort of some softer, more like neutral peachier tone shadows right there. The shimmers are just, see what I'm saying? People talk about the Viseart mattes, but the shimmers are so beautiful and smooth and mess free, and you get a lot of mattes in this palette as well. So if you want to go lighter, you can dip into these. If you want to go deeper, just kind of deepen things up, take it a little bit more purpley, you can go into these gorgeous plums and mauves right here. So this is kind of my second pick. If you don't really need any more brown tone neutral palettes, I would go for this one, the Paris Edit. It is just so beautiful. The next category is best warm toned neutral palettes, because some of us, like me, we still like the warm tones. I love them. And this palette is one of my favorites in my entire makeup collection. It might be my favorite Viseart palette, but I'd have to think about that. It's so hard because I love so many of them. It's this one. It's the Minxette palette. I don't think, if you follow me, you're not surprised by this because I talk about this a lot. And I feel like I don't always show this in a lot of my videos, but this is kind of my go-to. If I'm going on like a trip or I can only grab a couple of palettes, this is going to be one of the ones that I pick because it's just such a beautiful palette. I mean, you have some lighter warm tone shadows here, but then you also have some deeper ones. It's such a sexy palette. If you love that bronze goddess, like sexy tan kind of look, this is going to be the palette for you. You have so many options here, and I love pairing these peachy warm tones with these deeper, more like aubergine types of purples. It's just so beautiful. Like you could go peachy, you can go more bronzy. Once again, oh my gosh, look at those foils. The mattes are perfect. See, In these palettes, you get such a good gradation of matte, so you can do any kind of look. That's what Viseart does really well. So you have these lighter shades more so for blending, or if you have a deeper skin tone, maybe for kind of adding a little bit more brightness to the eye. You have the medium tone shades for more of transition. You've got the deeper shades to deepen things up. This is great if you like that warm toned, toasty look. And I know that there's a lot of other palettes out there that have these kinds of tones. I know that this color story isn't groundbreaking, but there's just something about this formula that I really, really love. So this is the warm tone palette that's always like my go-to. I always think in my head, Minxette palette, I'm gonna go for that. I wear this to weddings, I wear this to special events. This is one of the palettes in my collection that makes me feel my prettiest. And that's just me. I know everybody prefers something a little bit different, but for me, it's gotta be the Minxette palette. And real quick, guys, before I move on to the next category, I wanna show you a quick side-by-side of the Minxette palette versus the Solstice palette so you can see the difference in the tones. Minxette is just deeper, warmer, toastier, whereas clearly you can see the Solstice palette. It's more firmly like that classic neutral kind of color story. So hopefully that side-by-side is helpful. So we have best warm tone palette. Now you know we gotta do best cool tone palette. So the one that I'm gonna choose is this one. This is the Cashmerie palette, which, by the way, both the Minxette and the Cashmerie palette, these are part of the Etoile line. That's kind of like the classic medium size that they have. This size is definitely my favorite because it just has enough shadows. It's a decent size. And I'll just show you compared to the Petit Pro, this is the Solstice palette, the difference in the pan size and just kind of how many shades you get. And this palette, the Cashmerie palette, this got a lot of attention last year when it launched. I feel like these cool tones, they're very much having a moment right now. I remember Michelle Wong raving about this palette when it first came out because she loves her cool tones. She was saying this was one of her favorite new palettes of the year, and for good reason. This is a stunning palette. You can see it's still neutral, but you have some mauves in here. Like on this side, we've got some browns, we've got more cool tone mattes, and then on this side, we're incorporating a little bit more of the mauve. So you really can go either way, but everything is really beautiful, soft, and cool toned. I think Cashmerie is kind of the perfect name for this. Let me swatch a couple of the shimmers here because it is very soft, almost like Dior soft cashmere, except you have way more options in here. Look at that, so beautiful. There's no like crazy duochromes in here or anything like that, but you do have some really beautiful high shine shimmers. Wanted to put this on your radar. I feel like this is going to be one of the biggest things that sells during their sale. I feel like this is one of their top sellers at the moment, especially because these tones are very popular right now. And I did want to show you guys a quick comparison of what this looks like up against the Paris Edit palette. These are quite different. If you like more soft pink, a little bit of peachiness to it, then I would go for the Paris Edit palette. If you want something that is a little more cool tone and a little bit more mauvey, then I would go for the Cashmerie palette. The next category is going to be best smoky palette. What's going to be a good palette for kind of those nights out, maybe the holidays, or if you just like a good smoky time day look? And for me, it has to be this one. This one also launched, I think it was last year. It might have been at the beginning of this year. Don't quote me on that. This is the Paris Etoile palette. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. This is one of my favorite purple palettes ever. I'm not so much a huge purple palette person, but whenever I wear purple, I'm like, why don't I wear this more often? And one of the reasons why I like this is because when you look at it, you kind of think purple, but actually you have some really beautiful navy blues as well. And then to pair with those super dark mattes, you have these gorgeous, stunning, lighter neutral shades. Let me swatch these for you. You have this really pretty kind of silvery shade right here. You have a champagne shade right here. I feel like this works for every single skin tone. In fact, I do have a full review of this palette that I will link down below so you guys can see the looks that I created with this and just maybe more up close swatches and comparisons and all that kind of stuff. It really is a stunning palette. It's so sophisticated. When I first got it, I was like, I don't know about this because it's pretty dark. It's so beautiful. Trust me, this is absolutely gorgeous. Viseart actually just launched 2 more palettes in this line, which are the London Etoile and the San Francisco Etoile. I'll show you guys a side-by-side of all of them. I kind of think that all of these could probably be in the category of smoky palette, but the Paris one is still my favorite. There's just something about this color story that I really love. I am going to be reviewing those other 2 palettes, by the way. I know they're new. There's so many videos to film right now, guys, but I just wanted to show you that side by side to kind of help you out. The last category is best colorful palette. You guys are probably wondering, what palette am I wearing on my eyes today? And it's this one. This is the Bijouxette palette. This is for all my friends out there that love jewel tones. And one of the reasons why I wanted to wear this one on my eyes today is because I kind of feel like this is the one that is the most intimidating to all of you out there, and I want to explain why. Even though this is a colorful palette, even though it's very jewel toned, I still think that this is incredibly wearable, because when you take a look at all of these shades, yes, this bottom row right here, you do get some colors, and then on this top row as well, you do have some bright colors, but you also have a mixture of very wearable neutrals right here. And I think the best way to approach this palette is like pick one color that you really like, that you're drawn to. Like what essence are you going for? What color do you really want to evoke in your look? For me, I wanted to go into this gorgeous like magenta plum color you can see right here. I just have that blended out on the outer lid, and then pair it, kind of juxtapose it with these other neutrals that are right here. And then you can use these neutral mattes in the crease. I actually blended these two colors together to get a darker purple to kind of put in that outer V and like the outer eye area, just to add a little bit more depth. You can mix any of the colors with that dark brown if you want to deepen it up just a little bit. Another really great way to use this palette is just like with color blocking. You can use, you know, the blue all over the lid and then put the gold underneath, or you could do, you know, the green all over the lid, and then you could do the teal or the turquoise, whatever color this is, on the lower lash line. You could do half on the inner lid, half on the outer lid. That's kind of how I like to use this palette. But I think that jewel tones, they kind of look good on everybody, every skin tone. I feel like they're decently approachable, but the fact that Viseart mixed the jewel tones with these other really beautiful, really simple and easy to use neutrals makes this palette more approachable. Now I'm cheating a little bit here again, because while I really love the Bijouxette palette, and that one is my recommendation if you're looking for something that's different and also just screams holiday, that was a part of their holiday release last year. If that's a little bit intimidating to you, or if it seems maybe too deep for you, then I would recommend the one I was showing you in the intro, which is the Violette palette. I think another really easy way to dip into color is to do a monochromatic look, and that's what you get from this palette. I just like I said, I'm not really into purple palettes all that much, but I think this one is one of my favorite, in addition to the Paris Etoile. That one's more smoky, obviously it was in the smoky category, but I really like this one for more brighter looks. And as I was saying before, all of these shades are extremely wearable, but then what Viseart did is they put kind of like two stunna shades right in the center there. So if you want to take things up a notch, you just want to dab that into the center of the eye, you're good to go. But I also love these two shades for all over the lid. It's just like a really bright, beautiful, fresh, youthful kind of effect. You could just pop them in the inner corner if you want something more subdued. I remember last year I got this one for my cousin, and she couldn't believe how beautiful it was. I think this looks especially good on brown eyes because you kind of get that juxtaposition, but she has blue eyes and it even looked super stunning on her. So this is my other recommendation for a colorful palette if the Bijouxette is maybe just a little bit too much for you. Okay friends, so those are my top 5 picks. Now I'm just gonna spend a couple minutes at the end of this video talking about the things that I would probably deprioritize. And this is just me, these are just my recommendations, but I'll kind of walk you through my reasoning here. The first thing that I would probably skip on are the Slim Pro line palettes. And the reason for that is like, I feel like these are super tempting because they are really beautiful, but the fact of the matter is I don't really dip into these all that much. Like I'm always going for the Etoile palettes, I'm always going for the Petite Pros, but I don't really reach for these all that much. And when I do reach for them, when I do remember to reach for them, I'm usually just like reaching for a neutral matte if I don't have it in another palette. So I feel like these can be good companion palettes, but it's difficult because most of these, I mean, number one, I don't need this much product, they're rather big, but also you're either getting all mattes or all shimmers. And so I think that these are good if you want to customize your palette. If you buy 2 of them and you kind of mix up the shades to create something custom, that's kind of a good way to go. But also they're $80, so they can be pretty expensive. So if you're gonna do that, try and get them on sale. If you are gonna pick one up, I think my top pick would be this one. This is the Editorial Brights. This is like the most unique one. In fact, The two actually that I like the most other than this have been discontinued, which was the Boheme and the Koi palette. And those both kept going on sale. I do not know why they don't have them anymore, but those were the best ones. But I also recommend this one because if you ever need a rainbow palette or if you're doing something more fun, if you love eyeshadow, this is just a good rainbow palette to have handy. I don't need to be buying all those other rainbow palettes that you guys see on Trend Mood launching every other single day because I have this palette. And you can mix these shadows together to create any kind of shade that you want. So this is just a good thing to have on standby in my collection if I'm doing a more artistic look, if I'm dressing up in a costume, anything like that. This is the one that I like the best. Going off of that, something that Viseart recently did within the past year is that they took these Slim Pro palettes, pretty much probably because they knew that people weren't buying them all that much, and they made them into mini versions. I don't have any of them because I already have the bigger versions at the time that the mini ones came out, but they call them the Petite Mattes and the Petite Shimmers. And a lot of you all have been asking me about those. And I want you guys to really think about it before you buy them, because just like these, they're either all mattes or they're all shimmers. So ask yourself, do you really want a palette that's all mattes and all shimmers? If you're gonna buy editorial brights, you probably should buy the Petite Mattes version of it, because let's be honest, are you really gonna use up a whole rainbow palette? You probably aren't. You probably aren't. And I'm the kind of person where it's like, I actually really don't want all shimmer palettes, and I kind of regret buying these just a little bit. I wish they had the petite version when I was buying them. And like I said, I think the way to go if you're gonna buy any of those is to maybe buy two, one that has mattes and one that has the shimmers, and mix them up and kind of create your own custom palette. Recently, they came out with the petite versions of these two. So I've got the, what do I have? The Paris Nudes right here, and I've got the Sultry Muse right here. And a lot of you guys have been asking me, you know, should I get these? And honestly, guys, only get these if you're somebody that really makes an effort to dip into different palettes, or if you intend to customize your own, like your perfect palette with a mixture of these and maybe some mattes. Also, these two palettes, they are very similar. If you want my take on what the difference is between them, and I'll show you guys some side by side, so hopefully it will be helpful. The Paris Nudes, they seem to be a little bit softer, both in color, but also in the formula. The finish is a little bit softer. The tones amongst all of the colors are a little bit more even, whereas with the Sultry Muse, as I'm swatching a lot of the colors, I noticed that these have a touch more sparkle, a touch more pizzazz. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. Like, you definitely don't need both of these. But also the Sultry Muse, I think there's a little bit more differentiation between the shades. You can kind of see some of them are very light and some of them are very dark, whereas with the Paris Nudes, it's all kind of one note. When I swatch these, my heart skips a beat. Like, they're so undeniably beautiful and stunning. I love these basic colors. They're so foily, and they're foily, but they're soft. They're so angelic. I really do love them. And part of me thinks that maybe I will pick up another like neutral mattes palette, and I'll kind of mix these up. If I pick up anything from the sale, that's probably what it will be, because I already have everything else. But I just wanted to show you all those swatches so you can get a little bit of a taste for which one of these you might want to get. But also think about it. Do you really need an all shimmer palette? Do you already have these shades? I would probably say avoid these palettes. The other thing that I wouldn't get, and kind of unfortunately something that I regret buying, are those big Grande Pro palettes. I was looking on their website and they really only have one left. And once again, I wonder if it's because they just don't sell them all that much. I feel like all of the makeup artists out there probably already have them. I have the Grande Pro 1, 2, and 3, and they are really great, but they're just so big that I never dip into them. You guys heard me say in my Pat McGrath Mothership Mega review for the holiday collection this year, like, I like those big palettes, but I just don't pull them out that much because I don't think in my head, I want to create warm tone look, pull out Minxette. I want to create cool tone look, pull out Cashmerie. I don't think to myself, let me pull out all three of my Grande Pros and like dip between all of them, because I just don't have the time and I don't have the space. Like, they're very they're big, okay? They're big. So I would also probably shy away from that unless you are a makeup artist. And then I would probably also shy away from anything other than eyeshadow. If you're really prioritizing, I know that they have some beautiful blushes and some other products. They have some lip products. But if you're trying to prioritize because you have other sales and other brands that, you know, you're purchasing from, I probably would prioritize the eyeshadows over anything. So we're pretty much at the end of this video, and you might be asking yourself, well, Sophia, what about the Petite 4s? And with those, you know what? I would probably put those also on my list of things that you shouldn't pick up. For reference, this is what one of the Petite 4s looks like. It's just 4 shadows. And the thing about these is that I actually don't really reach for these at all either. The ones that I put in my top 5, those are the ones that I reach for the most. The Etoile, the Petite Pros, and the Edit line, specifically the Paris Edit. With these, while they are very cute, I would recommend them mostly for the people that just like eyeshadow quads. If you're someone where like all the shades in the other palettes just overwhelm you, you're more of like a Chanel quad kind of person, a Dior Quint, maybe a Tom Ford quad, you're used to like maybe max 6 shades, that's who these are for. Otherwise, whenever I use these, I always wish there was just one more shade. I always wish there was like 2 more shades, because the 4 shades usually never does it for me. I do have my favorite one right here though. I looked at all of them. I think I've got maybe 12 of them at this point. This one I think is my favorite. This is the Lilas palette. I know they just came out with a Lilas 2, but I really like this one. I haven't gotten any of the new ones, so maybe, I know I'm going against my recommendation here, but I kind of collect these for review purposes. I might pick up the Petite 4s, but I'm never really that excited by these. The Lilas is my favorite. This is just a really beautiful, soft, it's just like a gorgeous color story. It's also very natural. Once again, this is cool toned. It's very similar to Cashmerie. If you have the Cashmerie palette, I don't really think you need to pick this one up. But if you want a little taste of that Cashmerie life, then I think this one is good. I think a lot of you are really gonna like this color scheme. By the way, if you guys are curious, I do have a full review of the spring Petite 4s that came out, and my review and my thoughts on those still very much stand. So I'm not coming here telling you that I don't like the Petite 4s, but if I were to prioritize, I wouldn't really pick these up. These run for $25 full price. I'd rather just spend the extra like $15, $20 and get an Etoile palette or get one of like the Edit palettes. So that's just my personal preference. So really think about it, guys, because every time that you go and you add a couple of these, before you know it, you've got like $100 worth of little mini palettes when you could probably just get one full-size palette. Finally, if you are new here, or if you guys were wondering, I do have a full review of the newest Etoile palette that Viseart just released. This is the Le Marais palette, and I have a full review with comparisons and swatches. I didn't put this in my top 5 just because I had to be extremely selective, but I do really like this palette. So if you want to hear more of my thoughts or you want to see some comparisons, I will link that review down below. So yes, shameless plug for my recent video review. All right, friends, so those are all my recommendations and anti-recommendations for the Viseart sale. Once again, if you missed the sale, don't worry. I would still buy these full price. Typically, by the way, they have the sale around Black Friday, and then they have another one in the spring. So if you missed it, there will still be another one in the spring. And if you want to know about other Viseart deals or just other makeup sales in general, definitely follow me on Instagram. I will put my handle up here. That's when I tell you guys when these new palettes drop, when they come back in stock, when they go on sale. Pretty much any luxury beauty brand, I'm constantly following on what is going on, and I let you guys know on my Instagram first. If this video was helpful and you liked it, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Also, sound off in those comments down below. Let me know, what do you think of the Viseart formula? What is your preference? Which of the palettes do you like the best? Do you agree with my top picks? I would love to hear from you all. And with that, friends, I hope that you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.